The sky car slid through soft air and came to rest on a wide stone platform. The palace rose ahead like calm water turned to stone. It had long steps, open halls, and quiet light. Wind moved through the place as if it belonged there. There were no heavy doors in sight. There were frames and curtains and wide arches where the sky could look in. Sarah Vinar stepped out first. Eli followed, careful and alert. His feet made no sound on the pale floor. The air was clean. It felt thick and rich like bread. He could smell plant life, old wood, and a faint note of sea salt from far below. Servants waited in the shade of the arch. They wore pale clothes with simple lines. None looked surprised to see a human. That made Eli tense more, not less. People who did not show shock had practice. People with practice knew how to hide knives behind smiles. He had learned that in war and then in the pit, calm faces do not mean kind hearts. A small woman with gray hair bowed to Sarah. She had the neat hands of someone who fixed many things and forgot none. "Welcome home, my lady." "Thank you, Jinnah," Sarah said. She glanced at Eli. "Prepare a small suite in the east wing. Air rich in oxygen, plain food, clean clothes, and a bath." Jinnah's eyes moved to Eli for a second. There was a quick spark there, curiosity, not dislike. "At once, my lady." Eli stood straight and waited. He did not reach for the wall. He did not scratch the skin under the collar scar. He watched the way sunlight slid across the floor and made small lines like the surface of a lake. "Walk with me first," Sarah said to him. "You should see where you will work." He nodded. Words were not needed. She led him through a long hall, past a row of empty chairs and into a garden that seemed to float between sky and sea. It was not one garden. It was many gardens stitched together with bridges and thin paths. Trees grew in shallow bowls of soil. Vines hung from stone beams. Tall ferns leaned toward light. Flowers glowed in strange colors as if they had learned to drink starlight. Water ran down thin rills and gathered in a round pool with a black bottom. The sound of it was soft but sure. It calmed the air. "This is the Garden of Lost Sons," Sarah said. "The name is older than the house. Plants from dead worlds find a place here, seeds that crossed a war, fragments of green that had nowhere else to live." Eli stood at the edge of the pool and watched small fish move like drops of metal. "You keep them alive," he said. "I try," she said. "Some live, some refuse. Life is stubborn, but it has rules." They walked slowly. Eli saw a low greenhouse with clear walls, a simple potting bench and a wall of tools arranged as if the wall itself had chosen the order. The handles were well oiled. The blades were clean. The greenhouse door was half open. Inside, on a shelf near the floor, Eli saw a small brown object in a clay bowl. It was a seedling in dark soil. Its baby leaves were bright and round. The soil was damp. Next to the bowl lay a flat coin. It was old and scratched. The front showed a woman's profile in a single word: Liberty. Eli stared. His breath caught. For a moment, the palace and the garden fell away. He stood in a different house, in a kitchen with a small window and a table with 3 chairs. His father's hand placed a brass coin on the table and said, "Hold on to this. It means a promise." He blinked. The room came back. The coin on the shelf was not his father's coin, but it was of the same world. His world. Sarah watched him see it. She did not speak. She did not explain the coin or the plant or the shelf. She let the sight do its work. "What is the plant?" he asked softly. "Basil," she said. "A spice leaf from Earth. We received seeds from a trader 3 cycles ago. Most failed. One did not." "It likes songs." Eli gave a small smile. "My mother sang to her kitchen herbs," he said. "She said they were shy and needed courage." "Then perhaps you should sing to this one," Sarah said. He looked at her, half expecting to find mockery. He found none, only a calm invitation. "I do not remember her songs," he said, because that felt like a truth he had to put down somewhere. "Then talk to it," she said. "Tell it what you can," he nodded. He reached out and touched the soil with one finger. It was warm from the greenhouse light. He felt the fine grit break and the moisture cling to his skin. He cleaned his finger on his sleeve. He watched himself do it and thought, "This is the first clean dirt I have touched in years." Jinnah's quiet voice came from the door. "The suite is ready, my lady." Sarah inclined her head. "Take him." Eli followed Jinnah through a side hall rich in shadow. They passed a wall with hanging objects. He stopped, startled. There, in neat frames, were small things from Earth. A torn subway card, a plastic toy truck, a folded paper crane, the metal cap from a soda bottle, a faded picture of a blue ball spinning in black. Each item had a tiny label in delicate script. The labels did not explain. They named. Jenna saw his gaze and smiled a little. "The lady keeps them," she said. "She calls them earthly things. She says they have weight even when they are light." "They do," Eli said. He did not trust his voice beyond that. The suite in the east wing was simple. It had a bed with a firm mattress, a small table, a chair, a shelf with 4 books, and a window that looked over the purple water. The bath was hot. Steam rose in gentle clouds. There was soap that smelled like almonds. Clean cloth hung on a hook, plain trousers, a soft shirt, a short jacket. "Do you require assistance?" Jenna asked. "No," Eli said, because he did not think he could bear to be watched while he washed the pit from his skin. "Thank you," she left. He stood alone in a room that did not hate him. He undressed. His clothes, thin and stained, made almost no sound as they fell. The scars around his collarbone and ankle were pale and hard. He stepped into the bath. Heat and clean water are simple miracles. Eli let the water run over him and closed his eyes and did not think. He scrubbed until his skin stung and his hair was free of dust. He washed the taste of stone from his mouth. He stood in the steam and breathed. When he was dry, he put on the clean clothes. They fit as if someone had guessed his shape and guessed well. He ran a hand over the smooth fabric and felt a small, scared joy. He did not try to kill the joy. He let it sit and shake. He returned to the greenhouse. Sarah was not there. Jenna was not there. The basil plant was there. The coin was there. He sat on the low bench and leaned forward. "Hello," he said to the plant. He felt foolish, and then he did not. "You are far from home." "Me too." He told it a few things, simple things, the smell of hot sidewalks in summer, the taste of tomatoes with salt, the way rain sounds on a window at night, the hum of his mother's old fridge, the creak in the third stair, the warmth of a dog's head on his knee. He did not say the names of the dead. He did not talk about the pit. He gave the plant small, safe parts of earth, gifts a tiny green thing might carry. When he finished, he sat a while and listened. Water moved outside. Leaves rubbed against each other. Somewhere a bell sang one single note. He felt better than he had any right to feel. Sarah's steps were soft when she came. He stood. She waved him down. "Sit," she said. She took the seat across from him. Between them, the basil leaves shone like little coins. "You found my shelf of earthly things," she said. "I did," he said. "Where did you get them? Trades, gifts, wreckage?" "A captain once gave me that paper crane and said he did not want it to die on a ship. Another brought me the bottle cap and said it had no value and that was why it mattered." "And the coin?" he asked, before he could stop the question. She touched the edge of the bowl with one finger. "My husband carried a coin like that. He found it years ago near a gate. He thought the word was pretty even before he learned what it meant." "Liberty," Eli said. "Yes," she said quietly. "He died with it in his pocket. I do not have his coin. I have one like it. It is enough and also not enough." They sat in a soft silence. It was not uncomfortable. The garden filled the room with living sound. "What do the laws say about humans?" Eli asked. He had thought not to ask today, not while the water taste was still sweet in his mouth, but simple facts were better than soft lies. "They say too much and not enough," she said. "Humans are to be handled by the authority. Some are sold to labor guilds, some are traded to research houses. Private custody is permitted under strict conditions. No harm, no sale. No procreation. No public display. Registration of movements. Inspections without notice. If a neighbor complains, there will be a visit. If a soldier complains, there will be more." "And your house?" he asked. "My house can absorb some pressure. Not all. There are eyes on us. There are people who still draw maps with old borders." She looked at the basil leaves. "I will be asked questions. They will ask soft first, then sharp. Why risk it?" he said, not as a challenge, but as a true request for shape. "Because a line must be drawn by someone," she said. "Because kindness is a rule too. Because he would expect it of me." Her eyes lifted to his. "And because you crawled under a gate for an old man's back." He nodded once. There was a tightness in his throat he did not like. He swallowed it down. "Work," she said, gentler. "Would you like it?" "Yes," he said. She stood and led him through the garden. She showed him the irrigation control, the seed stores, the compost bin. The light timers, the pest alarms. She showed him a corner where several tools were broken in small ways. A handle loose, a blade dull, a hinge stiff. She set her hand on the bench. These are yours now. Fix what you can. Tell Jinnah what you cannot. The tunnels beneath the cave twisted like veins of stone. Eli's boots splashed through shallow water as he pulled the alien girl after him. Behind them, the Seekers screamed, metal beasts with red eyes and wings that cut the air. Their lights burned through the dark. Eli fired a few plasma shots over his shoulder. The blue bolts hit the tunnel walls, exploding in flashes of light, slowing the machines down but not stopping them. The cave trembled. He could hear the echoes of claws on stone getting closer. "Keep running," he shouted. The girl stumbled, breathing hard. "I can't." "They'll find us." "Not if we move faster," he said, gripping her hand tighter. "What's your name?" She looked up, surprised by the question. Her voice was weak. "Alira." "Okay, Alira," Eli said. "You stay with me, you live." "You understand?" She nodded, eyes wide and afraid. They reached an opening where the tunnel split into 3 directions. The noise of the Seekers filled the air. Eli cursed under his breath, scanning the paths. Then he saw a narrow gap half hidden behind some fallen rocks. Small enough for her, but maybe not for him. He crouched down. "In there." "Crawl through." Alira shook her head. "You won't fit." "I'll make it work," he said. She hesitated. "You'll die," he smiled tiredly. "Not tonight." Without another word, he pushed her forward. She crawled through the narrow gap, her glowing skin lighting the way. Eli followed, scraping his armor against the stone. Behind them, the Seekers screeched and crashed into the rocks. They squeezed through until the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. The air here was colder, but safe for the moment. Eli dropped to the ground, gasping. Alira sat beside him, hugging her knees, trembling. For a while, neither spoke. Then Eli asked, "Those things, why were they hunting you?" Alira looked down. "Because I don't belong anywhere." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, her voice breaking. "I was made in a lab. Not born." Eli blinked. "A lab made by who?" She met his eyes, and for the first time he saw the pain behind her calm face. "By humans," she whispered. "Your kind." The words hit him like cold metal. Eli stared at her in silence. "That's not possible. Humans haven't been here in decades." "They came in secret," she said softly. "They said they wanted to help my people, to share knowledge. But they lied. They took our bodies, our blood, and mixed them with yours." Eli felt his stomach twist. "You're saying they created hybrids?" Alira nodded. "Yes, I was one of them. A test. A weapon that could survive both worlds," her voice cracked. "They called me Project Echo." Eli looked at her arms. The metallic veins under her skin pulsed softly. He realized now what those lines were. Human nanotech fused with alien tissue. It shouldn't have been possible. But it was, he spoke quietly. "So you escaped," she nodded. "I wasn't supposed to feel. I wasn't supposed to think for myself. But something inside me broke. I ran." Eli leaned back against the wall. "And they sent the Seekers after you." "They're not just machines," she said. "They're made from what's left of others like me." Her voice trembled as she added, "They kill what they can't control." Eli stared at the ground, trying to process it. "So your creators, they were soldiers? Scientists?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I just remember faces. One of them looked like you." That made his chest tighten. "Like me?" She nodded slowly. "The same eyes, the same voice almost. When I hear you speak, it feels like I've heard you before." Eli's breath caught. It couldn't be true. But deep inside he felt a strange pull, a recognition he couldn't explain. He had been part of a classified project years ago, one that used his genetic material for bioweapons research. They told him it was canceled. They told him it was destroyed. He looked at her again. The scars, the nanotech, the familiar energy signature. It all made horrible sense. "God," he muttered. "They used me." Alira looked confused. "Used you?" "My DNA," he said. "My blood, my memories. They built you from me." Her glowing eyes widened. "That's why I—" She stopped, touching her chest. "That's why I can feel your pain." He looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" "When you got hurt, when we were running, I felt it too," she said. It burned inside me. Eli's pulse quickened. A living biolink. His genetic code connected to her nervous system. That's why she could sense him. That's why she knew him before they met. He ran his hand through his hair. This isn't your fault, she shook her head. But it's inside me. Their machines, their code, everything. It's all breaking. I'm dying, Eli. He moved closer, his soldier's instincts forgotten. You're not dying. We'll fix this. She gave a sad smile. You can't. I was never meant to live long. They designed us to fight and burn out. He clenched his fists. That's not how this ends. For a moment, neither spoke. The faint hum of the Seekers could still be heard in the distance, searching. Eli looked around. The chamber was lined with strange symbols, ancient alien carvings glowing faintly. In the center stood a stone altar covered in dust. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. He approached it. What is this place? Alira's eyes followed him. A sanctuary. My people used to come here to heal. Now it's just a tomb. Eli examined the carvings. They told a story, of light merging with shadow, of two beings becoming one. The symbols looked like DNA strands intertwining. He turned back to her. Maybe this isn't a tomb, he said. Maybe it's what we need. She shook her head. You don't understand. The more time you spend near me, the more the link grows. My systems will start syncing with your body. If I die, you might die too. He looked at her calmly. Then we both survive. Alira stared at him, confused. Why would you risk that? Eli smiled faintly. Because I started this, even if I didn't know it. And I won't let them finish it. Alira's lips trembled. For the first time, she reached out, her hand glowing softly as it touched his arm. The connection sparked, not just light but emotion. Memories flickered between them. Faces, pain, laughter, battlefields. Fragments of Eli's own past echoing in her eyes. She gasped, pulling back. I saw your memories. Yeah, he said quietly. And now I've seen yours. Tears rolled down her glowing cheeks. I remember the lab. The white walls, the pain. They said this is what makes you human, but it only made me a monster. You're not a monster, Eli said. You're proof of what we could have been if we'd chosen to build instead of destroy. She looked at him with something between hope and fear. Eli, if they find us again, you have to leave me. Not happening. You don't understand, she whispered. If they capture me, they'll use me to find every human link, every soldier who was part of your project. That includes you, he shook his head. Then I guess we'll just have to make sure they never find us. Suddenly, the ground trembled again. The walls cracked. A blinding red light filled the cave. The Seekers had breached the outer wall. Alira screamed, clutching her head. Her veins flared, glowing bright blue. Eli grabbed her shoulders. What's happening? They're trying to take control of me, she cried. They can access my neural link. I can't stop it. Fight it, Eli shouted. Her eyes glowed white. Eli, it hurts. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. You're not theirs. You're mine to protect. Remember that. The machine's lights filled the cave. Eli aimed his blaster and fired again and again, but more came. He pulled Alira behind a rock. Stay down. She reached for him, weak. Eli, if I lose control... Run. He smiled through the smoke. Not a chance. The chamber shook violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling. As a bright explosion consumed the tunnel, Alira screamed, her body glowing brighter and brighter until the whole cave was light. Then, silence. Only Eli's voice echoed faintly in the smoke. Alira, the deeper tunnels under the mountain were silent and dark. Only the sound of dripping water broke the stillness. Eli and the alien girl, Alira, moved slowly through the passage, their shadows stretching across the glowing cave walls. Outside, far behind them, the Seekers still screamed. Their metallic wings cut through the night air, searching, hunting, calling. Every few minutes, the sound of a blast echoed through the stone, like thunder chasing them. Eli stopped near a pool of glowing water. He crouched, listening. His soldier's instincts were alive again. Every sound, every vibration mattered. They're still close, he muttered. Alira leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her skin glowed softly in the darkness, faint blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. They won't stop, she said. They always find me. Eli looked at her. Her voice was tired, sad, but there was something else behind it. Something broken. You've been running for a long time, he said quietly. She nodded. Since I escaped the facility, Since the day I learned what I was. What are you? He asked softly. She met his eyes. Her expression was half fear, half shame. Something that should never exist. Eli didn't reply. He saw her trembling hands, the thin scars along her wrists that looked like silver wires under the skin. He'd seen wounds like that before. Not on humans, but on experimental subjects in secret labs. The kind of places where science forgot mercy. He stood up. We need to move. There's got to be a way out of this mountain. There is, she whispered. But it's not freedom. What does that mean? Elira turned, her silver hair reflecting the dim blue light. Follow me. You'll see. He turned back to Elira. Project Echo, that's what you said earlier. She hugged herself. Yes, I was one of 6. The others didn't survive. Eli's voice was quiet. What did they want from you? Elira didn't answer right away. She walked toward the metal wall and placed her hand on it. The surface glowed under her touch and a faint hum filled the chamber. Her voice was small when she spoke. They wanted to make something that could live in both worlds. Human heart, alien body. A soldier who could breathe in any air, survive any war. I was the closest they came. Eli's stomach twisted. That's impossible. They made it possible, she said, but they broke me to do it. She turned to face him. Her glowing eyes were full of pain. They used human blood to build my body. Human DNA to form my mind. They said I was a miracle, but I was never alive. I was just a weapon waiting to be used. Eli's chest tightened. Human DNA? Whose? I don't know, she whispered. They never told me. But when I saw you, I felt it, like a voice inside me waking up. Like you were the other half of something I lost. He frowned. That's not possible. It is, she said quietly. When you touched me, I felt your pulse inside mine. Your memories, your pain. You and I were linked. Eli stepped back, shaking his head. No, that can't. She reached out and took his hand before he could finish. The instant their skin touched, the air pulsed with light. For a heartbeat, Eli's vision shattered. He saw flashes of another life, a sterile room, white lights, a scientist voice saying Subject 9's tissue is stable, and a younger version of himself strapped to a medical bed. He pulled away, gasping. I saw on my memories, she said softly. No, our memories, Eli's mind raced. He remembered signing something years ago after a mission on Titan's rim, a DNA donation for defense research. He had thought it was a blood sample for study, nothing more. But now he understood. They had used him to create her. Oh God, he whispered. You're... Me, Elira shook her head. No, I'm what they made from you. Eli sank to the floor, his breath uneven. The realization hit like a hammer. The girl sitting before him was not a stranger. She was born from his blood, his mind, his mistakes. Elira's voice broke the silence. You shouldn't have come here, Eli. The link between us is growing stronger. If I die, you die too, he looked up. Then we'll make sure neither of us does. She gave a sad smile. You don't understand. My systems are breaking down. The implants, they were never meant to last this long. I can feel them burning inside me. Eli stood and walked toward her. There has to be a way to fix it. There was, she said. But it's gone now. What was it? The main console. She pointed toward a shattered control panel near the center. It could reset my system. But it needs a living neural key, human. It was locked to the one who gave the DNA. Eli stared at the console, realization dawning. Me, she nodded. Yes, he touched the cold metal surface. The console was covered in dust, but as soon as his fingers brushed it, faint blue lights flickered awake. Words appeared in the air. Neural link confirmed. Subject 19A, Eli flinched. They tagged me like a specimen. Elira's voice was almost a whisper. You can save me, Eli, but it will cost you. He looked back at her. What do you mean? The link will merge completely. You'll lose yourself. Your body will burn from the overload. But I'll live, Eli's jaw clenched. So one of us dies, she nodded slowly. That's what they built it for. To see if a human would sacrifice for what they created. He stared at the console, then at her. They wanted to test compassion. Yes, she said, her eyes glistening. And hate. The ground shook suddenly. The walls of the chamber cracked as the sound of wings filled the air. The Seekers had found them. Elira gasped, clutching her chest. The implants under her skin began to glow violently. They're inside my code, she screamed. They're controlling me. Eli rushed to her side. Fight it! Don't let them take you! I can't. Her voice broke into static, half human, half machine. Her eyes flickered from blue to red. Eli, they're making me attack you. He held her face between his hands. Look at me. Focus on my voice. Her body trembled. Run! I'm not leaving you. Please, she whispered. They'll kill you. Eli smiled faintly, a soldier's kind of smile. They'll have to catch me first. He turned, fired at the ceiling. Rocks fell, blocking the entrance. The chamber filled with dust and smoke. He dragged Elira behind the console as the Seekers began breaking through. Metal claws tore through the rock. Their red eyes glowed in the mist. Elira's voice was fading. Eli, I can't hold it. They'll use me to find more of your kind. He looked into her glowing, terrified eyes. Then we end it here. He grabbed a cable from the console and plugged it into the neural port on the back of her neck. The machine screamed as energy surged through them both. Elira cried out, and Eli felt his mind splitting. A flood of memories, data, pain, everything mixed together. He saw what she saw. The lab, the cages, the human scientists watching behind glass. He saw himself, younger, standing beside a table, unaware that his DNA was being used to make her. A voice echoed from the console, cold and metallic. Neural fusion in progress. Human subject integrity 47%. Eli's body convulsed, but he kept going. Almost there. Elira tried to pull away. Stop, you'll die. Then at least I'll die free, he shouted. The Seekers broke through the wall, a swarm of red light and steel. But as they came closer, the console exploded in a surge of white light. A shockwave threw everything backward. The machine screamed, circuits melting under the pulse. Eli fell to his knees, smoke rising from his armor. Elira lay beside him, trembling. The chamber went silent. He crawled toward her. Elira, hey. Her eyes fluttered open. Eli, what did you do? He smiled weakly. Shut down the network. They can't control you now, but you. He shook his head. Still here. She touched his cheek, her hand glowing softly. You linked too deep. Your mind is inside mine now. Eli laughed faintly. Guess we're stuck together. A tear slid down her face, bright blue, shining like a star. You shouldn't have done that. He looked at her and whispered, You asked me not to lift your skirt, remember? She blinked, confused. He smiled sadly. I didn't listen then either. Her breath hitched. Why? Because I needed to see what you were hiding, he said softly. And what I found wasn't shame. It was pain. She began to cry silently, her light flickering weakly. Eli. He placed a hand over her heart. You're not a monster. You're the proof that even our worst mistakes can create something worth saving. She closed her eyes, holding his hand against her chest. The pulse beneath his palm slowed, then steadied. Outside, the sounds of the Seekers faded, their control network gone, their purpose erased. In the quiet, Eli leaned back against the cold wall, exhausted. Elira rested her head on his shoulder, her breathing soft. Where do we go now? She asked. He looked toward the tunnel's faint light. Up, he said. Always up. The camera would fade on the glowing pair, human and alien, sitting together in the ruins of the lab, surrounded by the remains of the machines that tried to own them both. Their silhouettes, half light and half shadow, merge as one.